Yangquan Caledon porcelains in Zhejiang province. So they have showed strong interest and also deepened understanding of Chinese archaeology sector. So we went into discussion, and they told me that they have discovered similar celadons and other blue and white porcelains. And they told us about their interest in the ceramics culture here in China. Added by our cooperation previously with the Dolan University in the UK, we decided that we have strong strength in archaeological cooperation, and also Palace Museum is a very good platform. That's why the RAK chose us to be a partner of their local archaeology. They passionately look forward for us coming over, and previously they have did similar project with France and other nations. They have gone somewhere, and after years of discussion, they gradually heard about our reputation, and that's why they have set up larger expectation for the Chinese archaeologists team, hoping that we can blaze a new trail for their local archaeology. So we were invited here this time for a smaller scale of excavation. And after coming here on site, we signed a 5-year term of agreement. We expect to continuously carry out archaeology work in those years. This mustn't be your first time to cooperate or study here in RAK. What are the times for the previous excavation? The first time was in 2017. We want to get straight some situation about Ras al-Khaimah. And then last year in 2018, we paid our second visit. We took some information discovered by the other archaeologists, and we studied those information, laying a solid foundation for our practical work. And now this is the first time for our on-site excavation and digging up in RAK and UAE as a whole. For those relics and the site, they look quite simple, but I believe there must be a lot of things to be unveiled beneath this earth, right? After the preliminary investigation and survey, we discovered that this place is the highest, and also it's at the center location. That's why we chose this place to dig up. It's about 2 multiplied by 5 square meters. And also we believe this place is the premium place for digging up at first. And we hope to get a quick idea about its geographical situations, like the formation. So this digging up is in the direction of north to south. We want to detect the direction, and also within the smallest area we can get the utmost information. When did you come this time? We arrived on January the 5th, and 2 days later, on January the 7th, we started digging up this earth. Because of our tight schedule, we have been keeping up this work until now, and we are approaching the end. And we already got a basic idea about the layers at this location. So I could assume that you have digged up something out. We will screen them and fumble through those earths when we dig up. From the different layers of the earth, we will collect all suspected relics, including the remains of microorganisms. And also the soil would be collected as samples. So we take them all for study. Have you unearthed any porcelains from China? Of course. We discover those relics layer by layer. After completing one layer, we will screen them. Most of our discovery was about local porcelains and ceramics, but in every layer, we would discover something from China. Can we have a look at those relics from China? Of course, we will head over there. Every day, we can uncover some porcelains from China, and from some perspective, this reflects the frequent trade with China on a large volume. What are those workers doing? They're screening. They discovered some earth from the layers down there, and then they screen the soil. We could walk closer to see how they're sifting through. They want to screen those earths and then leave behind those very fine soil particles. Yes. In addition to the sand layers, other layers must be also collected as samples, and then they must go through the screening process for further categorization and statistics. Shall we have a closer look at the relics? Okay. After sifting, we will leave behind very soft and very small, fine sand. Why are we choosing this location? I've already explained the first reason is because of its geographical location. It's on the south bank of the Persian Gulf, and also the archeological teams from the other countries have already contributed here for many years. The latest excavation was from UK together with RAK in 2010, so they already have done some smaller scale of excavation. And they have unearthed some porcelains exported ones from China, so they came to believe that this place is very promising. After 2011, the previous archaeologists believed that since this place used to be a very important port locally, they believe in frequent trade happening years ago. They think this is a valuable place for archaeology work. That's why this year they invited us to come again for further excavation. We haven't done this place before. We used to work in northern part around this area. And also in this place, we chose the central site, the highest place in this surrounding. And those are the relics after we sifted through the sand. Those are the exported porcelains and ceramics from China. Mostly the Longquan Celadon. What are the features of those Longquan Celadon? Professor Zhang, could you answer that question? In China, Celadon is very soft and thick. You could see from the samples. Compared to the other ceramics, the enamel layer is thicker. It's the white part, and the green color is just like a layer of glass covered on top of the white one. And in China, usually we have to burn the porcelains under high temperature. We can choose someone to show you. For example, this piece, it's much thicker. Usually, those porcelains produced for export would be a little bit thinner compared to the local used porcelains. We would burn the porcelain and then color them up. Is the process quite simple, not yet very complex? The procedure and the process and the manpower would be colossal in ancient China. in Longquan. It was a big place, so it can guarantee big production. In the kiln, because of the large area, and maybe in different places of the kiln, they can produce different colors and different types of celadon. This bag of relics is already done, and our worker over there is still screening those earth. They are trying to categorize them into different types of relics. Like Professor Zhang said, about over 90% of those relics discovered are the local ceramics here. Compared to the Chinese porcelains, what is the difference? It's very obvious. If you take a first glance at the local ceramics and our porcelains, it's totally different because they belong to different products and they were made under different temperatures. And their local relics is mostly in red color. Let's take a closer look. You could see if you touch it, it's rough. And on the side, you would see it's not as thick and fine as the Chinese porcelain. I also heard that some locals are trying to make something similar to the Chinese porcelain. Is that so? This on my right hand, it's made in Longquan in China, and on my left hand, I think this relic may be made in Egypt. It was a copy of the Longquan ceramics. You could tell the difference between the two. Okay, for this one, imitating and copying the styles of Longquan ceramics, if it can be sold as 10 RMB, then what could be the price of the Chinese one? It must be more expensive. Can it be sold at 1,000 RMB yuan in comparison? The Longquan celadons in China was in large production, but after all, they were sold through ocean for a far distance to this local area. So when it was finally sold here locally, it would be more expensive, and also the merchants want to make a profit. For the ancient Arabics, if they cannot tell the difference between the genuine one and the fake one, then the merchants selling them will deceive them to buying the fake one and also sell at a high price. So it's hard to tell. If there are some counterfeited celadons made here locally, it is also a manifestation of frequent trade between the Far East and this area. And also it's a case of their love of Chinese porcelain. I think so. For those imported porcelains through the far distance, it's very costly, so the local people sometimes have to go into some efforts to burn and make it look like the Chinese celadons. And also many locals do not have a clear idea about what is genuine celadon. If they fake it and make a counterfeited products, they cannot tell the difference. But actually, since we are professionals, we can tell instantly, but not the laymen's. I feel like in RAK, not only the merchants are gathering here, it is also like a transfer station for the Chinese porcelains. They were exported through the al-Khaimah, and then they were transferred to the other places. Indeed, you are right. Because of the special geographical location here for the connection between China and Africa, or from Africa to India, this would be the hub, whether through overland or maritime transportations. It's like a must-go place. So through this port, there will be a lot of porcelains exported from China to go further to other places, to Europe or even North Africa. I sense that Ras al-Khaimah at that time may serve as a place like Dubai today. Dubai today is also a very important transfer place. Before the oil trade, this port used to be a very prosperous place. After oil became a major pillar of national economy, Dubai thrived later on. For Ras al-Khaimah, with our observation, we can still see certain amount of trade volume here, but the top place has been replaced by Dubai. But I can still tell that this place used to be a very important trade port. It's just that now the population are migrating southward, and the economic pillars have been transformed with modernization, so this place has seen some degradation in its trade prosperity. But still, for this east and west cultural communication, this place is very indispensable in ancient times. The place where we are standing has witnessed a lot of relics. I have reasons to believe that in other places around this area there will be some other cultural relics to be discovered. Yes, for the Longquan Celadons, they have been found in many sites. They're abundant in many places, so we could conclude that in ancient times we had frequent and prosperous trade with those places, and they can be discovered in a large volume. Particularly during the Yuan and Ming dynasties. How can you judge that which dynasty do they belong? To judge which dynasty they belong, it's a relative term. It's based on the established archeological results in China, and then we compare the ceramics or relics discovered here overseas, and then we compare them with the Chinese relics to tell the dynasty. So basically, we still refer to the archeological results we have already made in China. After all, we have rich materials to turn back to, and they are quite convincing. They are scientific results. That's why we can take them as a reference to judge the dynasties or cultural elements or the styles of the relics or processes of those artifacts when we discover them overseas. What are the tools and instruments you use for excavation? For the field excavation, we need to use a lot of shovels and vehicles. Do you have them in place right now? For example, those tools are used for mapping. We have to use them out in the field, and we took them from China. Domestically, we have rapid growth of archaeological science, so we have very mature technologies and instruments. They are going digital now. Can you introduce more information about those tools? Okay. What are the advanced instruments the Palace Museum is using for archaeology work? For mapping, in addition to manual mapping, we also have other digital choices. For example, this machine. What is it called? It's a type of total station. It has high precision at about 0.1 mm, so it can generate very accurate results. With this total station, we can map it out. For example, after cleaning up the earth, what are the relics left behind, and then we can label the exact location of this relic with this total station. with this total station, we can note down the coordinates of those relics when they were instantly discovered under Earth, horizontally and also vertically. We can generate 3D coordinates, and also we can have the computer-based mapping, and then with the map on the computer, we can directly showcase those coordinates of those relics on this map. Those are all in three-dimensional forms. About the 3D coordinates, we have been given such a rough point by the local archaeologists, and then after utilizing the total station to get the 3D coordinates, we can compare those 2 points. And then we can further detailize these coordinates in the local map. We can also see the relations between the relics discovered in different layers. It's very convenient. For the manual map, it's not that convenient. We can generate such a one-stop service with the computer mapping technology and the total station to better improve the results of archaeology. That's the cutting-edge technology we are using right now. Also, we are using UAV to dig up those relics. We need some plane map, and also we need a bird view map. Without the UAV, you will not go to a certain height to get a very clear map. UAV is very useful for us to have a certain conclusion because it has high resolution ratio. Sometimes the naked eye cannot observe every detail, but the UAV can do it. Now I get a rough idea about what you're doing. In addition to that, are there any other jobs you're undertaking right now? Or can I put it this way, what will be your plan for the next step? With this excavation, we had accumulated certain knowledge about the highest site of RAK, and for the next step, we will plan to scale it up in our discovery. We will try to discover some relics of local architecture to further understand those ancient cultures now uncovered beneath the earth. And also we plan to further detect and investigate the earth and soil here to see their ages and also their relationship with the cultural relics within. In this surrounding, where we have been working over the past 2 years, we will dig up further. This time we chose the highest point. It's like a small hill for the excavation. Now we already had some ideas, so in the future we will start from that small hill, the highest point, and then further extend our excavation. We will still refer to the Chinese archeological methods for the excavation. We hope that after years of work, this port will be thoroughly studied. We want to prove the importance of this port. And we want to know something about the architecture and the relics of this port. We also want to see its relationship with China through trade. And also we want to check the transportation routes in ancient times between China and this place. I heard that in Ras al-Khaimah, it has very few historical records. It has been seldomly mentioned in history. So what will be the impact of your excavation in this place? Just because that RAK lacks such documentation, our understanding of this place mostly rely on archeological documents. Archaeology is one way for us to understand one place's history through those objects. To put it another way, we could try to complement those left out places in history. With the help of those objects underneath the earth, we can try to restore history with our work. For China and UAE, as well as other countries in Middle East, the Belt and Road Initiative is very significant. Of course, our excavation this time is under the framework of BRI. China proposes the Belt and Road Initiative, trying to establish a bigger platform for our researches in different fields like education and culture. BRI is an opportunity for east to west cultural communication. With our work, we can try to explore some new places. For example, UAE used to be studied by the Westerners, and the Chinese archaeologists seldomly chartered this area, but now we have extended our work area into UAE. For the countries along BRI, we had a better idea about their cultural heritages and relics with this digging up. We also had a better knowledge about the positioning of those exported porcelains from China in ancient times. And also we get some idea about how those local people view the Chinese porcelains. They really value and like the Chinese porcelains when they were exported here. We feel proud, and also we can establish a deep bond towards our motherland. Every time seeing those porcelains uncovered from the earth, we are very happy. So it's quite an attempt to further our studies of the Antiquities culture. It's quite an important job for the BRI framework. We will keep up the good work and try to discover more things. And gradually, we will try to contribute further to the Chinese archaeologists with more documentation and materials. Then we could better and more clearly feel the pulse of archaeology as a whole. Alright, now we are live streaming in Ras al-Khaimah in UAE. Just now, Professor Xu Haifeng has given us a lot of information, and we came to know that the Palace Museum is doing some hard work here in Ras al-Khaimah. And we heard that the Chinese merchants had frequent trade transactions with the Middle East merchants. Since ancient time, we already had a good silk time trade relationship. Now with the BRI initiative in place, it was highly echoed here in the UAE. I think in the future, the BRI cooperation will generate more fruits between China and the Middle East. We will have closer relationship and contacts with each other. This is the end of the live broadcasting. Thank you for watching.